One of the cool things you can do with Google Earth is create tours that you can then share with other people. This allows you to navigate to different places around the globe and place placeholders there. And with those placeholders, you can attach text and images and also even embed a YouTube video. So what we're going to do is walk through that process today, and we're going to create a virtual tour for different places in Raleigh, North Carolina that you can buy a hot dog. So the very first thing I'm going to do is go over here under My Places and have that selected. Next thing I'm going to do is go under Add, and I'm going to create a folder. All right, and I'm going to give this folder a name. I'm going to call it Hot Dogs of Raleigh. All right, and this looks good. We'll say OK. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and add our first location here. So what I'm going to do is go under Search up here, and I'm going to type in a place that I'd like to go to. So I'm going to type in Snoopy's Hot Dogs, and sure enough, it's already coming up here. So I'll go ahead and select that, and I'll do a search. Okay, and there's several locations here that I can choose from. I think I'm going to choose this one right here in Raleigh, North Carolina at 600 Hillsborough Street. So let's go ahead and click on that one. And as you can see, it's going to start pulling in here. Okay, and I can go ahead and double click on it and it'll zoom in. All right, and so at this point right now I could go ahead and put a placeholder right here and it'll snapshot this view for me. But I think what I want to do is I want to go ahead and pull in a lot closer here. So I'm going to zoom all the way down here like so, and then what will happen is it'll go into Street View. Okay, and I think I actually want to go around the corner here, and I think this is the view I actually would like to use for this particular placeholder. Alright, so I'm ready to go. Let me go ahead and put my placeholder in. I'll go ahead and click on Add Place Mark. Okay, and I'll go ahead and drag this over so you can see that I got a place mark here. You can change this icon. Right now it's a knife and a fork, which is what I want to use here. But if you click right here, you can see that you can use a lot of different types of icons for your placeholder. But I think I'm going to stay with this one right here. So I'll say OK. Alright, I'm ready to go ahead and put some text in here. And I think what I'll do is say Snoopy's. Alright, so I've got some text to go in here. Now, what I think I also want to do is I think I want to make this part right here a hyperlink so that when you click on it, it'll go to their website. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to bring up a web browser here real quick, and I'm going to type in snoopys.com and see if that works. And sure enough, that's the right URL for their place. So I'm going to copy that URL here. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to select the text that I want to be hyperlinked, and then I'm going to say Add Link. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so I've got a hyperlink here for this, but I think I also want to add an image. So I'm going to click and put my cursor where I want my image to be. I'm going to go back to my web browser again. Okay, and let's go to locations here in their website. Alright, that looks like the image I want to use right there. So I'm going to say Control right click, and I'll say Save Image Location or Copy Image Address. Okay, that's what I want. Alright, we'll come back to this a little bit later, and let me go ahead and add my image, and I'll put the image URL in. Okay, looks good. Okay, so the very last thing I think I might want to do is I think between the image and the body of the text I want to create a new paragraph. So one of the things to keep in mind with Google Earth is that your information, your little information place marks that you put in place, they can contain simple HTML commands. So right here I'm going to go ahead and do this, and let's say OK, and let's just see if this works. Alright, this looks pretty good. So I've got my first one, except I forgot to name it. So let me go back and let me change that. To do that, you either right click or control click if you're using a Mac, and you select Get Info. Okay, and so I got to put in a name here. Alright, and that looks good. So I think I'm done with this one. So let me zoom back out here. Okay. In order to do that, I need to exit Street View. Okay, and now I can zoom back out again. Now notice this icon is still staying live, and so I can click on it and it'll still come up. One of the things to keep in mind about working with Google Earth is that is that it snapshots your view when you do your location, and you can actually change that view by going under snapshot view. Okay, so right now I think I'm going to stay with the view that I've got, which is my street view. But keep in mind that you can snapshot basically any view that you can bring up in Google View, and that placeholder, when you click on it, will take you to that particular view. Okay, so in my case I use Street View, but I don't have to. I could have used this view instead as my default view if I'd rather had done that. Alright, so enough about that. So what I think I want to do now is I want to go ahead and create some more places. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've created several places here now. I've got Snoopy's, I've got Clues Coney Island, and I've added Jerry's Grill for my third one. And I think I want to add one more. So we're going to go and add Roast Grill. And it looks like we've got it listed right here. So go ahead and select that. Okay, that looks like it right there. So let's go ahead and select that one. And you can see it's going ahead and pulling me into that location already. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on it. Okay, let me just keep zooming in here. Alright, let me just zoom in some more. Okay, and eventually it'll kick you into Street View again. This looks pretty good. Let me just move a little bit more this way. Alright, I think this is the location I want to use. So let me go ahead and put another placeholder in here. Alright, and we're going to call this one the Roast Grill. And you can see there's already a placeholder here that is built into Google Earth, but I'm going to go ahead and add my own. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I've got too many L's in there. Alright, and again, I think I want to put in a hyperlink right here for this one. So let me go back and look at my web browser again, and let me type in the Roast Grill. Okay, it looks like they've got a website too. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and select this website. Go ahead and copy it. Okay, so I've got that ready to go. Let me go ahead and add this. Alright, this looks good. And I'll go ahead and select it. And make it a URL. Maybe make it a hyperlink, excuse me. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so one other thing I think I'm going to do here is, for this one, I happen to know that these guys also have a YouTube video, and I think I want to embed that as well. So I'm going to go back over here to my Safari here, and I'm going to type in YouTube. Okay, there we are right there. I think that's what I want to use. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and I want to share that particular one. Okay. And I want to embed it. And here's my embed code. Now, depending on what browser you're using, you may actually have an option here that says use legacy code. I recommend using that instead of this right here. I am going to go ahead and use this one instead because this will work. Alright, and we'll say OK here. Alright, and go ahead and let me just go ahead and paste that embed code in here. The rest of this looks pretty good. I think this will work. So let's say OK. Alright, and I've got my link here, and there's my video. Again, if you run into problems working with the embedded video, there's two things that you need to do. One is try using the legacy code instead of the code I'm using right here. Sometimes you'll have an option inside of that for YouTube to be able to do that. The other thing to watch for is, depending on what computer you're using, there's a plugin for Flash, and this is using the embedded Flash plugin to play back content. And you may not have the Flash plugin installed for all browsers. You may just simply have the Flash plugin installed for Internet Explorer or for Chrome, which has the Flash plugin already built in. If you're having problems playing back content that's embedded inside of here, install the Flash plugin version for all browsers. You have to hunt around for it a little bit, but it is out there. Okay, one way to find it is to use Firefox, because Firefox will use that Flash plugin for all browsers. So if you just if you open Firefox and then navigate to a site that uses Flash, it will ask you to install the plugin, and once you install that plugin, you're good to go. All right, so we're done with that part, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create ourselves a virtual tour. So, well, it looks here I've got a problem. I've got roast grill, and it's sitting outside my folder. So let me just grab it and just drag it into place here. So keep in mind that you can move these things around, you can resort them and things like that. But I think I've got them in the order I want them to be in. Okay, to create a tour, what you need to do is just go under Add and say Tour. Now what will happen is you'll get a little record button down here in this corner, and you also have a button here that you can hit that will record your audio. But before I do all that, I think I've made a decision here that I want to make a couple more changes to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the way back out again, and I'm going to use another cool feature that's built into Google Earth, which is an image overlay. All right, so we're pulling all the way out here, like so. And I'm going to go under Add, and I'm going to say Image Overlay. Now notice there's an option here called Photo as well. This allows you to attach a photo to a particular location. So instead, you can have a photo embedded inside of your place marker, but you can also go to a location and you can add a photo, and that photo will just simply show up at that particular location. So you've got two different ways that you can actually do this. All right, but in this case I want to do an image overlay, which means the image is going to be wrapped over the surface of whatever I'm showing. Okay, so I've got my image overlay here. All right, and I'm going to add the image that I want to use. It's right here. And this is a GIF image that's got a transparent background. You can use any image like a GIF or a JPEG or a PNG file. If you use a transparent background like I have, then, as you can see here, the background will continue to show through. Okay, this looks good. I'm going to call this one Hot Dog, like so. And this looks good. Okay. And I think this is pretty much what I want. All right. Now note here, when you're inserting an image, you've got controls that allow you to resize that image and allow you to scale it. So let me just show you that again. So I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this. Okay, I want to delete this particular layer. And let me go ahead and add it back in again. Okay, and let me browse and let me select it again. Okay. So note here, if I drag over here, you can drag this image around and position it where you want it. You can resize it by grabbing these little handles right here. So I can make it smaller or bigger. Okay. You've got this handle right here that you can use to drag it this way as well if you want to. And you can then resize things this way. So it allows you to reposition things and allows you to resize the graphic itself for your overlay. All right, so that looks good. I think I want to go with something like that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of placeholders at the very beginning of my tour that start out with the Earth and then have the Earth rotate around, and then I will zoom in. So I'm going to go back here under Hot Dogs of Raleigh. I'll put in a placeholder here. I'm going to drag my placeholder and put it about right there. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say Earth 1. All right, I got that one done. Let's go ahead and drag over here, like so. All right, like that. Put another placeholder here. I'm going to call this Earth 2. And again, as I mentioned a little while ago, you can reposition where these are going to go inside of your list. I'm having a little problem here getting these things to work. All right, right there, looks good. Okay, now let me get rid of this so that I have a little more room to work. Okay, let me put this other one right below it. Okay, great. All right, so now I'm ready to actually go ahead and do my tour.